welcome back to the Maker Jane channel, where I share all things English paper piecing, from tips and tutorials to projects and more. So if you love EPP like I do, please consider subscribing. My name is Janie, and in this video, I'm unboxing another Snippet package from Cotton Cuts. So let's take a look. Snippet is a scrap fabric subscription by Cotton Cuts, and their scraps come from all of the extra fabric that's left over from the die cutting process of their puzzle mystery quilt. So if you're familiar with Cotton Cuts and their puzzle mystery quilt, that is where the scraps come from. It's all the leftover fabric after the pieces have been cut for the puzzle mystery quilt subscribers. Rather than throw all those fabric scraps away, they've turned it into its own subscription. So for those of us who love fabric scraps, it's a great way to build up our scrap stash. And what's also wonderful about the Cotton Cuts Snippet package is that all of the scraps that come in the package are coordinating. So you're not just getting a bunch of random colored scraps, you're actually getting fabric that coordinates with itself. And if you are a subscriber for any length of time, like I have been, then some of the scraps from one package may also coordinate with scraps from a previous package that you may have gotten from Cotton Cuts in the Snippet subscription. So it's a really great way to build your fabric scrap stash, your scrap fabric stash, and it's a fun way to get a little surprise every month, a little happy mail. So for only $9 a month, including the shipping in the United States, you can get up to almost 2.5 yards worth of fabric in the form of scraps. So let's take a look and see the April Snippet package. Okay, so that is what it looks like, just kind of opening the bag initially. I'm going to pull the bag out and pull the rest of the items out of the bag so the package is empty. Before we get to the fabric, I will go over what else comes in the package. So the first thing we have is a little card that says, "Come with us and we will show you the world." On the back of the card is the Cotton Cuts website, a little bit of information about them as a company, as well as a coupon code to get 10% off of their classic or their modern maker fabric subscription. So that's really cool. The next item in the bag or package is their Cotton Cuts block of the month. And on the front of the card, you've got the block, you've got the assembly instructions with your measurements and everything, and a colored example. So you could see just one example of how you could color your block with your fabric. On the back of the card is an actual coloring page or coloring card. And if you color this in and post it on social media using hashtag CC Color Challenge, you can be entered to win a prize from Cotton Cuts. So that's fun. The last item in the package, besides the fabric, is their classic pencils that they always include in all of their fabric subscriptions. And it's a sewing mem that is usually printed on the pencil. This one says, "Crafting is my love language." Very cute. I really like that one. I love collecting these pencils because I'm always using them in the sewing room for either marking fabric or pattern design. So in my opinion, we can never have too many pencils, and the little mem on them makes them that much more special and that much more appropriate for our sewing rooms. So here is the package. This month, there is quite an assortment of fabric in here. And the fabric is supposed to be coordinating. That's what it says on their website. But the fabric that's in this package is probably the least coordinated package I have received. And I have been a subscriber to Snippet for at least the past 6 months. So I know I've gotten at least 6 of these packages. And I would say this has got the most variety for a Snippet package that I've received. So we're gonna open this up. I do like that they put it in a bag and it's securely taped so that if by chance in the post it got wet, the fabric would still be safe. It's not a sealed bag, but it's very well wrapped. And what I love about these stickers is they re-stick. So if you want to just keep your Snippet scraps in the bag they came in, you can totally do that. I, however, end up pressing all of my scraps, and I have begun organizing them into some bins and things based on color and all of that. If you're interested in seeing how I organize my scrap fabric, let me know down in the comments below, and I'll make a video for you and show you my scrap fabric organization process. It's taken me a little bit of time to kind of figure out how to organize it, and of course organization for me is always a work in progress, but I'm happy to share with you what I've come up with temporarily for the time being if you're interested. So let me know in the comments. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and kind of dump this out on the table, and I'm gonna go through each of the fabrics that came in this particular package, as well as the shape of the scraps and the size of the scraps, because I've had some people commenting on my previous Snippet packages. I do like to show the size of the scraps because for those of us who use scraps, it's kind of a good idea to know what to expect if we are subscribing to a scrap subscription. And I've had a few comments on my videos of people that have just said, yeah, I don't know if I would use that size scrap. So I think it's helpful to show you the size of the scraps that you're getting for those of you who are interested. So let's go ahead and look at this first fabric. We've got this fabric here, and there are a few cuts of this. So there's another section of this, and I'll show you that in just a second. But this is pretty typical of the type of shape of the scraps that you'll be getting in a Snippet package if you decide to subscribe. There's typically a lot of strips, like you can see here. And then there is sometimes, not all the time, I've noticed, but most often there are these larger triangle chunks as part of their, the leftovers of their die cutting process. A lot of these fabrics also have the selvages as well. So if you are one that likes using selvages in your projects, Snippet might be a scrap subscription that you might want to consider, because you get pretty decent width of your selvage, so you can use them in your projects. So that's the first piece of that particular fabric, and it looks like the only other one of that one is probably the same size, but I'm gonna just open it up. Yep, so that is about the same size as the other one. And this is with the fabric folded over on itself once. So there's a fold here and the selvages are here, just to give you an idea of the actual amount of fabric that you're seeing here. So let me just quickly measure, let me grab my ruler. So I'm just gonna quickly measure the largest strip here. I'll just measure this one here for you just to give you an idea. So it's a little bit over 1.5 inches, and it tapers down to about 1 inch here. And then these triangles, I will measure this way, 3 inches tall or deep by about 4.5, almost 5 inches wide. So the triangles are a pretty decent size, and they're actually perfect for English paper piecing. I tend to use the triangle sections of the fabric for English paper piecing, and then I use the strips for strip piecing or for crumb quilting, if you're familiar with that. So the next fabrics I will show you are just kind of some smaller bits of scrap, and there's several here. So here's the first one that I'm noticing. This particular fabric looks like, I'm just kind of sorting through what's on the table. It looks like this is the only piece of this particular fabric. Those are really cute flowers. These would be really great for fussy cut English paper piecing. And I really wish I had more of this fabric in my Snippet package this month, but I don't. This is all I've got. So yeah, I might be able to get a few flowers out of this. Maybe this one here, and I don't know, some of these ones in the middle. Remember, with English paper piecing, we have to make sure that we leave enough fabric outside of the template for the seam allowance. So when it comes to using scraps for English paper piecing, you want to make sure that the scrap piece is large enough for the template plus the seam allowance. So these next fabrics, again, are just small pieces. Here's a rectangle here of kind of a gray silvery blender fabric. And I don't see any more of that particular, oh, no, I lied. Here's another piece here folded over on itself. So there's 2 of those. This, I'm just really surprised at how much variety is in this bag this month, and the amount of each fabric. Like usually, I'll show you in just a little bit, but usually you get a lot more of one particular fabric, like the first fabric that I showed you. So it's very unusual to get so much variety and more of these smaller cuts. So here is a Carolyn Friedlander fabric, and this is the only piece of this. However, oh no, I'm sorry, it's not the only piece. I see some more over here. So I will show you that in a second. But I did get this in a previous Snippet bag. So like I mentioned earlier in the video, sometimes you'll get a Snippet package that coordinates with a previous Snippet package that you might have gotten. That's the case with this fabric, and I really love this fabric, so I'm very excited that I got more of it. So there's this piece that I just showed you, and then there is these larger pieces. So this is folded over on itself twice. So here is with the fabric folded once. So over here is the fold, over here is the selvage, and I've got 2 of these, and these are very good size for English paper piecing. So you've got these triangles here that are much larger than the ones that I measured initially with that first fabric, and the strips are also wider and they are more consistent, so they don't have as much of a taper as the first fabric that I showed you. So let me measure this. So this first strip that I'm holding up here is almost 2 inches. Actually, it's over 2 inches all the way to the selvage edge. So if you subtracted about a 1/2 inch for the selvage, plus these, where these dots are, maybe that's what, 3/4 of an inch. You're looking at about 1.5 inches of usable fabric if you don't want the selvage. And then, let's see, let's measure this one. That is almost 1.5 inches. I would say it's 1 3/8 inches, this section here. Now these triangles are going to be much wider. I'm going to have to set this down to measure. The triangle width is 7.5 inches wide, and the depth of the triangle is just under 4 inches. So that is a good chunk of fabric for English paper piecing or for chrome quilting as well. And these strips are much more usable than the skinnier strips that we saw on that first fabric. So I've got 1 of these and I have a second 1 of those, so 2 total. So I'm very happy about that because I love this fabric. So so far we have a neutral, actually a couple of neutrals. We have a light blue fabric. I showed you another neutral, that gray silver. Here's another blue fabric, and I don't see any more of this one in the package either. So this is the only one I have of this particular fabric. And this is more of a blue-green, but I guess you could coordinate it with the light blue Carolyn Friedlander, depending on what other fabrics and colors you want to put with it. But they kind of coordinate. Not really. I'm just looking at it going, yeah. Okay. Here is another scrap. And again, it's the only one of its kind in the package. I really like this blue. The color of the blue and the design is beautiful as well. But it's all I've got. So I probably couldn't really use this in an English paper piecing project unless it was a very small English paper piecing project, like, you know, something small. That I wouldn't need a lot of fabric for. Or I could use it in an English paper piecing project that was very scrappy, that I wanted the look of a whole bunch of different types of fabric. That's a possibility too. So just keep that in mind if you are considering subscribing to the Snippet. Subscription is, you may not get a lot of the fabrics that you like from the package. And that's just kind of the way it goes. It's a scrap bag, you know, it's kind of a grab bag, scrap bag, and it's full of surprises every month. So this next fabric is an interesting shape. I have gotten a couple of pieces like this in previous bags. So we've got a smaller piece here. And let me just measure this because I realize I haven't been measuring those smaller pieces. So this particular one is 4.5 wide by about 5.5 long. And then in addition to that, I also have a width of fabric strip that is 3.25 exactly. So that's pretty nice. I like this fabric. It's very graphic and colorful. So I'm glad I got more than just this. So yeah, and it's a pretty decent width piece. So that could be used for something, definitely. Here is a random yellow square all by itself. No more yellow fabric in the bag. And that's it. So far we don't have any yellows. We had a little bit of yellow in the floral. So that coordinates, I guess. And you could add the blue in there as well, and those would coordinate, yes. But again, these pieces are pretty small, so I don't even know what I would use these with in terms of an English paper piecing project. Perhaps they would work well for bookmarks. You would still need a larger piece for the background, but if you've seen my bookmark videos, then you'll know that, you know, the smaller scraps that you might have lying around work great for making English paper piece bookmarks. So if you're interested in checking out the videos, I did a whole series on how to make English paper piecing bookmarks. I'll link to those up above so you can check those out. All right, so here is 2 more small square scraps. Just like that yellow one, only these are green, and I'm going to measure these because I didn't measure the other, and it's 3.5 by 3.5, just under 3.5. So about 3.5 inch squares, and that's the same size as what that yellow one was. And usually, like I said, in past Snippet packages, I've never gotten pieces like this before. Usually I get these larger die cut, and I'll show you the next fabric, these larger sections. This is what I have normally gotten in a Snippet package. So this Snippet package is very different, as I've already said. Anyway, this is a green, looks like a batik. Yep, this is a green batik fabric. Hopefully you can see that well. It's fairly dark. And this is a decent section. Now this strip in the middle that looks really skinny, it's actually folded over on itself. And it does taper, you'll notice that. So this strip probably you wouldn't be able to use the entire length of that particular strip. But there's a decent width strip here. There's some decent sized triangles. And there is another section of this particular fabric. So this one's got some decent sized triangles and some decent strips. The center strip obviously would not be usable at all because even after I unfold it, it's only bigger than an inch on this end, and then it goes way skinny on that end. So most of the scraps you can use. Some of them are unusable, and that's, you know, that's just kind of the name of the game and how it works, because they're die cut. So it's just whatever's left over after their die cutting process. This next fabric is really beautiful. I'm pretty happy that I got this particular fabric, and there are 2 pieces of this, and it looks like it might be, I'm just checking. Yeah, this is another batik. I'll hold this up so you can see the coloring of it. It's really beautiful, kind of aqua and blue against a dark, yeah, that's a dark navy blue background. So I've got 2 pieces of this, and we have some decent sized triangles. We've got some decent width strips. This center strip is a pretty decent width as well. Let me measure this real quick. So that is almost 1 3/4 inches. So that's a good size strip for strip piecing or crumb quilting. So there's 1 and 2 of those. And again, that's folded over on itself. So all of these ones that I'm holding up like this, these are with the fabric folded once. So this side is the fold, and this side is the, no, wait a minute. What in the world? Sorry. This side is the fold, and this side is the selvage. So that's a nice fabric, and this would coordinate with some of these other blues that were in the package. The next pieces that I'm just kind of seeing right away here. So before I show you these, what I'm noticing is, and this is what's another thing that's different about this particular snippet, is that there are fabrics within this package. Because there's so much diversity, there are multiple fabrics within this package that coordinate, but they might not all coordinate with each other. So, for example, this fabric right here, I would say would probably not coordinate with this fabric. Okay, that's just my own personal taste. You may totally think otherwise, and that's totally cool. But I wouldn't necessarily put these 2 together just as they are. I would have to have something that would pull them together within that fabric palette. But there are other fabrics, like this fabric, that does coordinate with this fabric. So, and this is, like I said, this is new. So within this package, there are a lot of different fabrics, but within those fabrics, there are groups of fabrics that coordinate with each other better than maybe others. So this is a nice piece of fabric. This is the only one of its kind in the package. It is with the fabric on the fold. So I got the fold and then the selvage here. And the strip width is just over 3.5 inches, but it does look tapered. So I'm going to measure down here by the selvages, and it's under 3.5 inches. So yeah, it is a little bit tapered. So yeah, but it's a decent sized strip. It's nice and wide, so it can be used for more than what a smaller piece would be used for. I really like that fabric, actually. It's a nice large print. And then this fabric that I showed you is from the grunge line. It's the grunge stars, as you can see. And there's a nice stack of fabric here, and these are almost 3.5 inches wide by 4.5 inches. So that's a decent amount of fabric that could be used with this fabric or another, fabric from either my stash or another snippet package maybe that would coordinate. I could see this being able to be used in a decent size, maybe small to medium size English paper piecing project, like maybe a pot holder or a table placemat. I don't know. There's so many different things you can make with English paper piecing. Even like a tea kettle cozy, or I've got a French press that I want to make a cozy for. So smaller to medium projects like that, these cuts of scraps would work great. And actually, here's another fabric that would coordinate with these two that I've already shown you. And this one, it's a little bit more of a muddy fabric, but it has that same burgundy color, and it does have hints of orange in it. So I'll just show you that briefly. Really pretty. I really like the design. And it is a with the fabric, nice wide strip. And over here at the fold, the measurement is 3 1/8. And there's a little bit of a taper down at the selvage. It is 3 3/8. So that could also coordinate. But again, I don't know if the blues would go with this. So that's cool though. That's cool. There's such a variety of fabric in this package. It's actually quite fun to discover all that comes in the package. So these next two pieces, I'll just quickly show you. Here's another piece of grunge, starry grunge, and this is kind of a creamy white. This is the only piece of its kind in the package. And this is 2 3/4 inch by 6 1/2. That could coordinate with anything that we've looked at so far because it's a neutral and it's an off-white. This other fabric is another one that I've gotten in a previous Snippet package. And I think in the other Snippet package that I did receive this in, it was also very limited. So there's only 2 pieces like this in this particular package. I really like this fabric. I wish there was more of it. It's kind of a, it's a little bit more muddy than I like to work with, but it's kind of nice to be able to mix and match, you know, a little bit of muddiness into some of those clearer fabrics every now and then, just to add a little bit of interest. So a couple of decent sizes there, but again, limited. So that's all I've got. So this won't go very far for a very, you know, for a larger English paper piecing project. But you don't just have to use your scraps for English paper piecing. I just happen to prefer English paper piecing, but I do love crumb quilting and, you know, sewing on the machine, piecing on the machine from time to time. We're almost done with the fabric. This little piece is all by itself. It's really beautiful fabric. I really like it. I love the design. I love the color. But this is all there is. So this may get thrown right into the crumb bin because I don't even know how I would incorporate that into an English paper piecing project unless it was an extremely scrappy project, which sometimes I do scrappy projects, but not often. So we've got a couple more to go here. Actually, we have 4 more to go. This one is beautiful white on white, and I think this is a Tula fabric. I can tell from the sparrows. I may be totally wrong, but it looks kind of Tula pinkish to me. There's hearts and stars and sparrows. And this is with the fabric, so the fold is here, the selvage is here, and this is about a 2-inch width strip. Decent size for something, a border, or maybe even binding for a small project. Okay, so these next fabrics I have actually received in different Snippet packages in the past. So, and they are beautiful fabrics. So I can add these to the collection that I already have. This first one is from a Christmas themed fabric. I'm trying to look at the selvage to see, it doesn't give me any information, but it's basically just gifts. Here, let me flip it this way. It's a neutral background with pastel gifts on it. And this is with the fabric. So I've got the fold and the selvage. And it is a 3 5/8 width, nice fat strip. So there's that, which coordinates with this next fabric. And this is Amy Sinibaldi. It doesn't tell me the name of the fabric line, but there's a nice piece of this with some decent sized triangles as well as some wider strips here. These skinnier strips I probably wouldn't use. I usually don't use a scrap fabric that's any smaller than an inch, because by the time you sew on either side of, let's say, the strip, for example, you're taking away a 1/2 inch for your seam allowances on either side. That really only leaves you a 1/2 inch left of visible fabric in your project. So for strip piecing or for crumb quilting, that's my cutoff, is 1 inch. If it's any less than 1 inch wide, I don't keep it. So what do I do with these smaller strips? Well, you can use them for stuffing, for pet bedding. I've seen that. I actually have a bag here of scraps that are too small for me to do anything with. So I'm starting to collect them in a bag, and then eventually, once I have enough, I'll use them to stuff something for a gift or, you know, a pet or whatever. So that's an option. If you have any other ideas on how you use your scraps that are too small, leave them down in the comments below and share with us, what do you do with your scraps that are too small? Do you toss them? Do you save them for projects or stuffing or anything like that? And what do you use them for if you do save them? So these coordinate, definitely. And there's one more little piece of that pretty evergreen fabric as well. And as I said, I already got that in another snippet, so I'm going to add these to those scraps as well and kind of grow that collection. This last fabric, this is the last fabric, and there's quite a bit here. I'm just going to kind of pick up the whole thing because it's very well all folded together. There are several layers here, but let me show you the fabric first. Let me flip it this way so you can see it. This is another fabric that I have received in a previous snippet package, and I really love it. It's got such a beautiful colorway. I love the pink and the green against kind of this taupe background. And if I remember correctly, I got some pretty decent size pieces of this last time. And you can see there are decent size pieces of it here as well. So we've got these nice large triangles at the top and at the bottom. Then we have some nice wide strips and here, and then this strip in the middle. Let's see how big that is. It looks like it might be about 1 inch wide. It unfolds because that's where the fold of the fabric is. And let me just measure that. Yeah, so it's actually 1 inch and 1/8. So I would hang on to this and use it for strip piecing or crumb quilting, whatnot. So I'm happy that I got more of this, because when I first got this in the previous snippet, I really fell in love with the fabric. So I'm going to add that to that collection. And this one does have enough of the selvage on it, so I'll show you what this is. This is Morris & Company, and it's called Granada, and it's by Free Spirit Fabrics. So you can check out the selvage there. The unfortunate thing with Snippet or with any scrap bag is that you're not going to always get your selvages. So you're not always going to be able to know what the fabric is from, who designed it, or what the fabric line is. But if you get these larger cuts like this, the actual die cut scraps in your snippet, you most likely will get enough of the selvage so that you can know what the fabric is. So that if you do love that fabric and you want to go get more of it, you can figure it out and find it because you've got the information on it. There isn't any other information in the package on what fabric you're getting. So you really have to just rely on the selvage. And as I said, in most of the snippet packages, you'll get enough of the selvage of each fabric There might be one or two fabrics, you know, that don't have a selvage. This particular snippet package was very unique. As I've already said, there's a lot more variety and a lot more of the small sections of fabric. So it really just depends on what they put in the bag and what you end up getting. But out of the minimum of 6 months that I've been a subscriber, this is the first time that I've gotten this much fabric that I couldn't tell what it was from the selvage. So just keep that in mind, you know, be open to surprises and to, you know, unknown fabric lines, but also know that, you know, you may end up getting a snippet package where every fabric in the package, you'll be able to know where the fabric came from if you wanted to get some more. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it was helpful for you to decide whether Snippet is something that you even want to consider subscribing to if you like using scraps and collecting scraps in your stash. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then, keep on stitching.